Hi, welcome to the recent edition of the Prep Football Podcast. We're a man down today. Jeff Johnson is on assignment down in Iowa City, covering some Iowa football duties. So it's just going to be one Jeff and myself tonight. Jeff, how are you doing this week?
I'm good. I'm good. Getting ready for a very warm week 7. How many times we've gotten to wear shorts on the last night of the regular season?
It's kind of goofy, that last little second summer, that little burst that normally we have like at the end of September maybe, when it gets really hot one last time before we freeze our butt off after that. So
we'll take this.
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, it's the last week of the regular season here coming up. A lot of teams kind of clinched district titles last week. Two that come off the top of the head in 3A are Washington and Xavier. Now in 3A, those district champions will receive bye as well as a couple others. How does that kind of break down? Because it varies from class to class a little bit because of the number of teams playing, right?
Yeah. In 4A, assuming there are 36 teams that are going to be playing, 28 would have bye, so there'd only be 4 first-round games. 3A, I think there's going to be 53 teams because Hoover is out, so there would be 11 teams with byes. 2A, 1A, 54 teams, and that would mean 10 byes. Class A, I think there's 59 teams, which would mean 5 byes. And just depending on how things shake out, I know 8th player is going to have at most 64 teams, so there would be no byes there. But I've heard 2 more teams, possibly from this area, might be opting out, so that would be 62 teams in the playoffs would be 2 byes.
Sorry to kind of go astray here, but we saw earlier this week one little bit of news that they're going to allow fall teams to actually compete if they've lost regular season competition dates
Right.
after the postseason. What are your thoughts about that? I think that's kind of neat.
I think it's great. The Des Moines public schools will be able to play a game or 2, maybe 3 if they can squeeze it in. I think they're coming back November 7th, so they could get some games in if they want. Some teams, Iowa City teams, if they get eliminated, could go find another game. Maybe they play, each other. I don't know how that might work, or find somebody else that's been eliminated. So I think there's some neat options out there, and I would think there would be some teams that will take advantage of it.
So kind of nice for those groups that didn't get a full regular season, and
right.
We've talked about those issues in the past, and it's good to see that they're able to reclaim some of those games going forward. Now,
Kennedy would get to play a game or 2 if they wanted. Linn-Mar would get to play a couple of times if they want to. Continue the season. I guess it just depends how motivated teams are to keep playing, or if they figure that once they're out of the postseason, they're out.
Sure. Now, last week there were a few big games. In talking about those district title clinches, Xavier with a win at Grinnell.
Very impressive.
I think it was 44-20 was the final score, but might have been like 44-7 going into the final quarter.
Yeah.
Something like that. But did that surprise you? Maybe not necessarily the win, but the decisiveness there.
Yeah, the margin surprised me a lot. I thought that was going to be a really good ball game, and Xavier really put the hammer down, and that was enough to kind of reverse things in our Class 3A rankings. Xavier went from number 2 to picking up 3 additional first place votes and moved them up to number 1 over Dallas Center Grimes team that had a lot of trouble and had to come from behind to beat ADM.
Yeah, I was at another 3A game that was kind of a little bit of a shocker. Not necessarily that West Delaware won, but
Right.
the fact that they won so decisively, and the way they put up 49 points. I can't remember the last time I've seen a team uh, put up that many points against a Western Dubuque team, and really just kind of took over after Western Dubuque scored on their first possession of the game. West Delaware had a nice kickoff to the Bobcat 5. A couple plays later, got on the board, and then it was all West Delaware after that. I mean, offensively, defensively, special teams, everything that could have gone right for West Delaware did. Everything that could have gone wrong for Western Dubuque did for just about the next 3 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what's really happened now in that 3A district, Waverly Shell Rock
Yeah.
upset Decorah, who had beaten West Delaware. So that kind of throws things into a frenzy.
Yeah. You got
Up
3-1
there with
loss
Western, yeah, and you got Western Dubuque going to Decorah here in the final week. So
Mm-hmm.
Kind of weird how that's going to all shake out, especially with a bye kind of hanging in the balance for
Yeah,
one of those
that
teams.
Western Dubuque Decorah game is now kind of an elimination game as far as the district championship is concerned. I would think that West Delaware will take care of business and beat Waterloo East. But so if it's West Delaware and Decorah, I guess Decorah gets the quote unquote title and the bye that goes with it. And if it's Western Dubuque and West Delaware, then it would be West Delaware.
Another situation that's similar to that, but probably a lot more maybe unclear as to who's going to emerge in Class A with MFL, Southwind, and Wapsie Valley. MFL with a pretty impressive win over Southwind here this last week.
Mm-hmm.
Those three have beaten each other. Wapsie beat MFL by a point earlier this year. Southwind beat Wapsie Valley pretty handily, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have all three teams that have beaten each other once, and more than likely, all three will win their final games
Right.
the regular season. I emailed Todd Tharp, and my impression from his response was they won't necessarily do a three-way tiebreaker.
Right.
That essentially they're just gonna not really differentiate between champs and just make sure they send them different directions for the
Right.
first 2 rounds of the playoffs.
Right. My guess is that if they had to pick a winner between the three and give one of them a bye, it would probably be MFL because they had the close loss. They might get the higher seed. I would imagine all three would be teams that would be top seeds in their first and second round pods. So I think all three would be top 16 teams.
Yeah, it's crazy because you still have Edco that's unbeaten. Kind of in that same area. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard to send all divisions.
Yeah, and then
a little further to the south, you still have Regina.
Yeah, and you go back up north, and you've also got St. Ansgar, and you got Grundy Center. So you're going to have to be creative with that, and I don't think they're going to be able to split all those teams up after the round of 16.
We could have our Class A version of the Group of Death this time around instead of.
Yeah, there we go. We can use that. We can break that out.
Yeah, resurrect that
Yeah.
bit. Any other games or things that kind of stood out to you here last week?
Well, I was at Solon, and really they're coming together. Solon's really starting to play good ball. Just really out physical Mount Vernon. The first three plays of the game were telling. Just 3 off tackle plays, gain of 11, gain of 15, gain of 15, and off they go. And they won 42-14, and that's about the separation between those two teams was, it seemed like about a 4-touchdown game.
Yeah, in the beginning of the season when Solon went 0-2, the close
Mhm.
loss to Williamsburg, and then falling to Washington, who's turned out to be a really strong 3A club. Kind of wondered, okay, is this the drop off from the coaching change and stuff
Right.
like that? But it appears that they've really acclimated well to the new coach and really kind of hitting their stride as the postseason approaches.
Yeah, and they're going to be an extremely tough out in 2A. And where do they go? My guess is, the 4 quadrant leaders. I'm sure Williamsburg will be one. Does Williamsburg go north and PCM come east, or because you know that the Central Lyon George Little Rock West Lyon winner will probably be the big team out northwest, and whoever else there is in southwest. So it just kind of going to be interesting to see who goes where with the with Solon and Williamsburg and Waukon, which kind of have separated from the other teams in 2A in the area.
Um, you got some, don't want to say not so great games here to close out the regular season, but I don't think there's really a big key or matchup there this week here, at least in our neck of the woods. But what do you see out there? What games kind of stand out to you
Well,
here this week coming up?
we mentioned the Western Dubuque Decorah game. That's a biggie. I think the game that I think you've got is it Kennedy and Iowa City West. I think that'll be a good game. I'm going to be at Beckman for West Branch and Beckman, which is basically possibly a district championship game. So that'll be good. Belle Plaine Grundy Center. Grundy's kind of had their number the last couple of years. That that's for a district championship. I'd say those are kind of the top handful of games.
Belle Plaine was a team too that I think maybe some high expectations at the start of the year, and then that that season opening upset to Lisbon. That
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of people really saw coming there at the start, even though Lisbon, before they had some injuries, put together a really good season. Maybe kind of throwing some people off of the Belle Plaine bandwagon, but boy, they've rifled off 5 solid wins here to set up this district title game with Grundy Center.
Yeah, I was really, really impressed with the fact that Belle Plaine beat a pretty darn good 2A team in Mid Prairie last week. I think that really kind of opened some eyes, and I think they'll go up. I'm not sure that they'll win, but I think they'll go up to Grundy Center, and I think they'll be competitive.
How do you think teams should handle this final week? You've got a playoff. Everybody qualifies. I think you really have to be careful just to make sure kids aren't going out and doing anything. Staying maybe separated and everything, and then to keep people injury free. There might be some things at stake for positioning, but for the most part, just be safe and careful here this final week of the regular season, and get into next week.
Yeah, and I think if you know that you're going to have a bye, especially if you're a 4A team, I think you can go hard this week. The other teams, I probably, if you're a middle of the road team and think you can make a run, maybe you leave somebody that's a little bit banged out for a week or have them play a half and get them healthy for next week. I was just thinking when you're talking there, and we were talking earlier about teams that can continue to play. Let's say you've got a bye next week and you haven't played your full 7-game schedule. Do you consider playing a regular season game next week?
Wow, that's I know there's a whole idea of trying to stay fresh and
Yeah.
to avoid kind of having losing momentum, I guess. But is the risk worth the reward there?
Right.
Risking somebody getting hurt or you know exposed to
Yeah.
something. I suppose it's a possibility. It's something they could
It's
do.
something I just kind of thought about.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be
Or do you schedule a scrimmage for next?
Are you allowed to do that? Is scrimmage? I mean, is
I
that
don't
something
know.
that be worth it? Get a different
I don't
look. I
know.
mean,
I suppose it depends if they had a week.
I know with wrestling, a lot of times between sectionals and districts, 2A and 1A schools will go practice with other teams just to
Hmm.
get different looks and stuff like that. So, yeah, why not? Why not have a little bit of a scrimmage or something controlled to,
Yeah.
um, to work out? Even though then it brings up, what are you exposing kids to and all that kind of stuff. But it'd be no different than a regular game. So why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Just a thought.
yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna be at Iowa City West for the Kennedy uh, West game here. I think probably through the first couple weeks, these two are considered maybe the best two teams in the Eastern side, possibly. Kennedy suffered a couple losses there. Um, got back on the winning track with a win over Waterloo West last week. Iowa City West had their hiatus, because of the school district situation, and they're 3-0 coming in. And it looked like they were strong coming back from that break. So, this game has the makings of a really uh, fun game between the two.
Yeah, I
Um,
think so.
You've got two really good quarterbacks, and Marcus Morgan and Max White. Um, for West and Kennedy, and uh, West's defense has been pretty good when it's been on the field. We'll see how Kennedy can contain Marcus Morgan, but this it really should be a fun game down at West.
Yeah. Yeah. Is JJ covering Wash Prairie, or do you know what he has?
Oh, I can't remember. I think I think he's going to be at Xavier. I think he's going to be
Okay.
at the Benton Xavier game.
Okay.
Um, I think one of our correspondents will be at Wash Prairie, maybe Plating Cool.
Okay.
We'll be
I think
there.
Prairie's really kind of picking up steam and might be a team to watch once we get going here.
Yeah, after that little, and heck, they're very close to uh, being unbeaten.
Yeah.
Um, that first week game. Um, with Kennedy, that was a game. Depending on a call or two, might have gone their way, and then I believe it was Dubuque Senior
Hmm.
got him by a field goal, right?
I
You
think so.
know, but they've ever since then, Prairie's played lights out, put up a
Yeah.
lot of points. I see Nick Pearson is back up to among the league or state leaders in rushing. I think he's approaching 800 yards um, right now. So he had a heck of a season last year, and we've said it multiple times. That system gives people fits.
Hmm.
So
I think JJ
uh,
said that the last three games they were playing teams that were coming off of quarantine, so that's got to make it that much harder.
right, exactly. So in Washington, they're banged up. It's no secret they've had a rough go. I think they played a little bit better in the second half. Um, against Cedar Falls, but it's not the same Washington team that started 3-0 necessarily, and I think they're still hopeful to kind of get things righted a little bit, but it's going to be a tough task with Cedar Rapids Prairie and kind of what they bring this week. So, speaking of West Branch and Beckman, Mr. Atwater up there is taking over at Beckman. I believe last year was his first year coaching, maybe, and then now the Blazers have really put together a solid season.
Yeah, very quietly they have. They lost their first game of the season, I think, to Anamosa, and you think, well, maybe they're not gonna be so hot, but they haven't lost since, and now they're 4-1, and really good test coming up Friday against West Branch, and if they could win that, then going into the postseason at 5-1, and who knows what could happen.
And is West Branch coming off kind of a notable win from last week?
They came from behind to beat Durant.
Okay.
They're down 21-13 against Durant and came back and won that one. I think it was 28-21. So kept them in the district race. If they can beat Beckman, then it'll be probably a three-way tie between those two and Cascade.
Okay. All right. Any other matchups that kind of stick out? I know for me, one of them, just because of some of the things, I'm a sucker for, the trophy or rivalry things. I love the Battle of the Boot. In wrestling, they have the Del Buck Trophy between West Delaware and India. I think those things are pretty cool. And then to see the multimedia promotion for the Liberty City High game that's coming up this week. I know I think they both have the same 1-2 record, right? But they have this really neat trophy that they're playing for. I believe it's the game's called Clash of the Titans. And it's got kind of a Zeus type of feel to it, with the lightning and the hawk and everything. If you haven't seen it on Twitter, try to find it. It's pretty neat for people that are watching. But I think that's pretty cool. Nice little dynamic to add to it, and kind of a little bit of another little rivalry there in the Iowa City area.
Yeah, I think that's really neat. Some games that stick out statewide to me. We're going to find out a lot more about Urbandale this week. They go to Waukee. Urbandale 5-0. How good are they? I don't know. And if they could beat Waukee, that would kind of really legitimize them. 3A, Lewis Central and Harlan get together at Harlan, and we mentioned earlier the 2A game up in Lyon County, West Lyon against Central Lyon, George Little Rock.
So those are some fun matchups for this week, and certainly could be a nice little catapult for teams going into the playoffs with big wins there. Okay, so we don't have JJ here this week, so you're kind of on the spot by yourself here.
All right,
you ready for who's got more?
Bet. Let's go.
All right. Here, I'll throw on my reflective glasses so I can read. Okay. So, who's got more sacks?
Oh, jeez.
Meskwaki Settlement or Washington, Iowa?
Well, it's got to be Meskwaki because otherwise I don't think that one would be brought up.
It is Meskwaki. Meskwaki is actually tied for 6th in 8-player with 19 sacks. Washington is tied for 2nd in 3A with 17 sacks. And of course,
little shout out to Meskwaki. That's a program that hasn't had a ton of success the last few years. They're sitting 3-3 right now, and great for them. I know I think they played their first game of the season against Gladbrook Rhinebeck, which is generally a really good team, and they played them tough, and they've been very competitive this year.
Yep, and I noticed, and now forgive me for the mispronunciation of the first name, but Torres Grant, one of their standouts, who actually ranks among some of the 8-player leaders when it comes to offensive stats. So, on their defense has done some nice things, mentioned in the sacks and tackles for loss. So, they're putting together a pretty good year for best one in a few years here. Okay, touchdowns. Who's got more touchdowns? Springville's special teams or Prairie's passing offense?
Well, I saw Springville had 2 returns for touchdowns against Easton Valley. Let's go with the Orioles kicking game.
You are 2 for 2. They have 7 touchdowns, 4 kickoff returns for touchdowns, and 3 punt returns for touchdowns. Prairie has thrown for 6 touchdown passes.
All right.
And of course, Prairie's a run-oriented offense. That's why it's close and stuff. But more impressively, 7 kick returns, even in 8-player. That's pretty impressive. Okay, who owns the greatest margin of victory among their victories? Sigourney Keota, who's 6-0, or Waukon, who's 4-1?
Well, a couple of Sigourney's games have been reasonably close. I know they've smacked a couple teams around. I'll say Waukon because I think they've kind of put it to some people lately.
Sigourney Keota's average margin of victory is 30.3.
Okay.
Waukon's 30.8. Nice job.
All right.
So you're 3 for 3. Wow. I thought I'd have some tough ones here, but okay. So who has more total offensive yards? Monticello quarterback Luke Lambert?
He's got a lot.
Or Belle Plaine running back Luke the Mulenaire?
I'm going to go with Lambert because he's got both quite a bit of passing and a little bit of rushing. I'll go Lambert.
You are correct again. Lambert by 63 yards only. Lambert has 1606 so far this year. Luke the Mulenaire has 1,543 offensive yards so far this year. And of course, the Mulenaire, one of the actually, I think he's the rushing leader in Class A now.
Okay.
So, all right. Who has more pass receptions? Colin Swans of Mount Vernon or Tommy DeSoler of Western Dubuque?
I'm going to say DeSoler's definitely got more receiving yards. I'll go with Swans with more catches.
It's a trick question. They have the same amount. They both have 37 receptions.
Okay.
They're among the area leaders. They're both tied with Alec Wick of Regina with 37 catches. And that's tops for 11-player. Montezuma's Trey Shearer leads our area with 42. And, of course, Montezuma's 8-man.
Right.
But yeah, Swans, DeSoler, and Wick are all tied with 37.
Gotcha.
There. So some pretty outstanding wideouts in our area there. Okay, so I have a bonus question for you. This one's going to take some. This is going to be a little tougher. So, rank these 3 quarterbacks by quarterback rating from best to worst. Quarterback rating: Jackson Rexroth of Xavier, Ashton Cook of Regina, and Ryan Navarra of Clear Creek Amana.
Oh, so that's yards. That's yards per catch. That's touchdowns. That's interceptions. Rexroth has been so darn efficient. I mean, all 3 of them have. I'll go Rexroth, Navarra, Cook.
You nailed it. How in the world? You nailed it. Rex Roth, QB rating at 157, Navarra at 136.5, and then Cook at 133.4. Now here's now do it by yards. Those three by yards.
Cook, Navarra, Rexroth.
Wow. Now if you can get completion percentage, you have swept the round. You swept it anyway, but this is just one last one.
We'll go completion percentage. I'll go Rexroth, Cook, Navarra.
Close. It's actually Navarra, Rexroth, Cook. Navarra at first off the yards. Cook is thrown for 1275. Navarra 842. Rexroth 810. Navarra's completion percentage is 64.3. Rexroth at 62.5, and Cook at 62% of his passes. So,
all right, all very good quarterbacks.
I am very impressed.
All right,
I thought those were tough. I thought those were toughies, but you ran through it pretty well.
Well, it's kind of a cheating thing because I have to look through those quite a bit for doing capsules every week. So
I tried to find some hidden off the wall ones.
those are good.
You know, so
because I didn't know much about Mesquakee's sacks.
Yeah, it was surprising kind of looking and seeing that, you know, but pretty impressive, you know. Are there any sleepers out? Are there any teams that have really surprised the heck out of you this year? You know, is there a team out there that you thought or you didn't see on the radar at the start?
Yeah, how about Cedar Rapids Xavier? I didn't think they'd be number one right now. I didn't think they'd be undefeated right now. I knew they'd be, you know, you knew they weren't going to be bad, but I honestly, I didn't have them in my top 10 to start the season. I thought this might be a little bit of a down year, and, you know, here they are. They're 6-0. They're number one, and they look like one of a handful of teams in 3A that could go a long, long ways. So I guess I would say them. In the area, not really. I'm surprised MFL Marmac is as good as it is again. Mm-hmm. I thought they might be down a little bit, but other than that, I'm surprised English Valleys is 5-1 in eight-man football. How about you?
I think one of the ones that stands out is Edco being 6-0.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. You know, I kind of thought MFL, kind of seeing what they had, I thought they would be good. I thought Southwind would be good. Now, of course, if I had known that MFL was only returning one offensive starter up front, I wouldn't have thought I wouldn't have thought that to begin with. But they've really done well. But Edco, you know, I wasn't sure exactly where they would be, but being 6-0, and then Xavier's another one that, you know, I still probably have ranked lower than most people. I'm not one of the first place votes that they've gotten. I still have them, you know, kind of right in that 4 or 5 area. But that was a team that I thought after last season that we might see a little bit of a dip. But boy, I credit the coaches there. You know, and I'll be honest, Central Iowa, there's a couple things in 4A. I didn't expect West Des Moines Valley to be where they're at right now. And I'd say Urbandale probably surprised me a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know, you kind of
and Southeast Polk.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you knew what you were going to get from Dowling, and you knew Ankeny was going to be good while Key's always up there. But to see kind of Urbandale and Southeast Polk really kind of move to the front there, you know, that surprises me a little bit. And even Washington, Iowa, I knew they were going to be good, but boy, you know, they've done really well here to start.
Yeah.
That first win against Bettendorf really.
That was
opened eyes.
Yep.
You know. And of course, you could probably point to a handful of 3A teams, and I mean, as good as it is
Yeah, Webster City.
around here. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But
Ballard. So Decorah is a surprise to me.
yeah. Well, in the way they started, especially, those wins over Walk On, the West Delaware win,
Yeah.
Those games going forward that, they started out really strong. And, heck, the way Solon has bounced back after that 0-2 start.
Right.
I probably didn't think they'd make an appearance in the top 10, but boy, they've really put together some strong weeks here to close out the regular season. So
yeah. So
all
right. What else you got going the rest of the week? You got anything planned this weekend or?
Well, this week, so Friday, I will be at Kennedy at Iowa City West. Follow me at KJ Pilcher on Twitter. Friday, I'll also be keeping my eye on the first round of state golf down at Des Moines Golf and Country Club. There we have a few teams, Cedar Rapids Xavier, Linn-Mar, Cedar Rapids Prairie heading down there, and a few individuals as well. Then I'll also be keeping an eye on the U.S. Senior Wrestling Nationals that'll be in Coralville at the Extreme Arena. I'll be down there.
Have you been in there yet?
I have not been in there yet.
It's nice. It's really nice.
So I'll get my first. I won't be there Friday. I'll be kind of monitoring it because of football coverage and golf. And then Saturday I'll be down there for the full day for the start of the men's freestyle competition. So that's what we have going on for me. I'll have state golf preview and a preview for the U.S. Wrestling Nationals going up at the Gazette.com later today. What about you? What do you have going on? I know you're in the thick of things when it comes to prep sports.
Yeah, up at Dyersville for the football game. Saturday, it's already the West Side Invite in volleyball over at Jefferson. They're going to do it a little differently. They're not going to have bracket play. They're going to have 2 pools of 4 each in the morning and then a pool of 5 in the afternoon. So, still some good teams. So, especially in the morning. So that'll be fun. And probably have an eye on the laptop around noon just to see what the pairings look like.
Cool. All right, yeah, because those will come out Saturday afternoon, correct?
Right around noon, they're saying. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll keep an eye on those and see what the post kind of the early postseason pass.
Yeah.
Because those will change once you get through each pod, right?
Once we get to the round of 16, then they'll redraw basically.
Okay.
So I think this will be a pretty good system considering what we've been through this year as far as teams hopping in and out because of the virus.
Yeah, and certainly we're fortunate to get to this point because I know there were a lot of people throughout the year leading up to this point weren't sure if we would get to a postseason bracket, but here we are. So hopefully everything keeps going that way. Any other parting words or?
Don't stay up late Friday looking for pairings because you're wasting sleep. So get to bed.
So make sure you head to thegazette.com to check out all our prep coverage. I know Jeff Johnson will have a preview for this week. Your games to watch and capsules are already up, as well as our rankings, so you can check that there. You can follow JJ at JEJE66 this week, at JT Linder, and at KJ Pilcher, and away we go for the regular season finale.
Let's rock and roll. One last football poll next Monday, and then off we go into the postseason. 6 rounds of it.
All right. So it should be fun. Thank you, everybody, for watching and follow along. Missed JJ today, but he'll be back next week, I'm sure. So on behalf of JJ, Mr. Linder, and myself, Nathan Ford, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.